We often think we'll know when danger is near, that we'll recognize evil by the way it looks, speaks, or acts. But the truly terrifying thing is, sometimes evil doesn't hide in the shadows. It stands in the light wearing ordinary clothes and greets you with a smile. There are people we merely pass by, yet they leave a scratch on our minds. There are knocks on the door that seem harmless, but turn out to be the final warning. In today's episode, you'll hear two true stories told by those who once believed they were safe until everything collapsed in an instant. A neighbour standing behind a door, eyes empty and blank, and a figure who silently rides a bicycle beneath the streetlights each night waiting. This isn't a movie. This isn't fiction. This is fear, when it wears a real face. Story 1. The neighbour behind the door. I never used to believe in gut feelings. I always thought fear was something people made up in their heads, paranoia. But that changed the day I moved into the apartment next to a man who looked like he had nothing behind his eyes. It was early 2020, just before the world shut down. My wife and I had relocated to Farmington, New Mexico for my job. We settled into a ground floor unit in a modest complex. It felt temporary, forgettable, until we met the neighbours. Their names were Olivia and Humberto. They had two little girls, always laughing and playing outside. Olivia was kind, smiling, talkative, welcoming. Humberto was the opposite. He wasn't aggressive, not even rude. Something about him set off every internal alarm I didn't know I had. He stood too still. His eyes didn't just look at you, they looked through you. Like he was always listening to something far away. Something you couldn't hear. Then came lockdown. Suddenly, the walls around us got thinner, and the nights got louder. We started hearing things through the shared wall. Screaming, banging, growling, always from a man's voice. Always late 2 or 3 in the morning. Sometimes it sounded like Humberto was fighting with someone. Sometimes it sounded like he was fighting with himself. But we never intervened. We never asked questions. Then one day, the apartment next door went silent. Olivia and the girls were gone. Later that week, Olivia messaged my wife. Said she and the kids were staying with her mother. She asked us to keep an eye on the place. She never said why they left. Weeks went by. Still silence. Then in October, they came back. But something had changed. Humberto looked thinner, his eyes darker, his movements stiffer. And then one night, I woke up to the sound of someone slamming on our front door. The kind of pounding that makes your chest lock up. The kind that says someone's about to break in. I grabbed my gun and crept to the peephole. It was him, Humberto, standing motionless, eyes wide. His mouth was closed, but he was breathing through his nose hard. I cracked the door just enough to speak. He whispered, "I think you dropped your wallet in front of my door." But I hadn't left the apartment all day. My wallet was on my nightstand. I told him I had it already. He just stared. No blink, no movement. Then he smiled. That twisted, dry grin like he knew exactly what he was doing and enjoyed the fear crawling up my spine. I shut the door slowly, locked both deadbolts, and for the first time in years, I moved the couch in front of the door. Weeks passed, and then it happened again. This time my wife was leaving for the store, and there he was, Humberto screaming in her face as she tried to walk past, spitting nonsense, accusing her of stealing his words. I ran outside and shoved myself between them, told him if he ever came near her again I wouldn't just call the cops. He smiled again, didn't argue, didn't leave. He just stood there, watching. That was when I realised something. I hadn't seen Olivia or the girls since they returned. No footsteps, no voices, no laughter. Only Humberto. Alone. That suspicion stayed with me. Then one Sunday night, everything exploded. The pounding on the door returned. Only this time it didn't stop. It got louder. The lock cracked. The door flew open. And there he was, Humberto, gun in hand, screaming at us, shouting things like, "You've been watching me. You've been hurting my family." He pointed the gun at me. I pushed my wife behind me, trying to stay calm, waiting for the worst. He took a step forward, then another, and then he slapped my wife. Open palm, right across the face. That was the moment I knew I might die. But then Humberto put the gun down. It was Olivia. Her voice came from outside, clear and urgent. He froze. That moment of confusion. We used it. We ran, barefoot, into the freezing night. Police arrived within minutes. Humberto had barricaded himself in the apartment. He threw Molotov cocktails at the responding officers. One of them hit a cruiser, didn't explode. He kept throwing. They were forced to shoot. When they finally went inside, they found gasoline cans, zip ties, soundproof padding on the walls, knives, and a locked room with nothing in it but a single chair. Luckily, Olivia and the girls were safe. They had never actually moved back in. She had only come by that night to pick up some mail. 2 weeks later we moved, far away. But I still see him sometimes, in my dreams, standing behind a door, watching, waiting for me to open it. If you've ever ignored a gut feeling about someone, don't. Trust it, because sometimes it's the only warning you'll ever get. And remember, the scariest monsters aren't always hiding in the dark. Sometimes they're standing right next door. Story 2. The stalker beneath the streetlight fear has a shape. Sometimes it looks like a man standing in your driveway. Sometimes it rides a bicycle under a yellow streetlight. Sometimes it knows where you live, even when you've never told a soul. This happened in 2019. I was 21, working at a car wash in Flagler County, Florida. It wasn't a dream job, but it paid the bills. The people were decent. At least, most of them. That's when Nicholas showed up. He was maybe 24 or 25. Soft-spoken. Quiet. At first I thought he was just shy. But then his eyes would linger a little too long. He never just looked at you. He studied you. His gaze never blinked, never flinched. At first it was small things, passing by a little too close, brushing his hand against mine when it wasn't necessary, asking casual questions that felt personal. Then came the messages. He found me on Instagram, then Snapchat, then somehow on Facebook. Always polite, always just enough to make me second guess myself. "Hey, just wondering how your day was. Hope you got home safe. You looked amazing today." I didn't respond at first. Then I told him directly I wasn't interested. But Nicholas didn't take rejection the way most people do. He doubled down, started sending poems, weird rambling obsessive things about my hair, my walk, the way I smiled when I didn't know anyone was looking. He noticed everything. I told my manager. He just shrugged and said, "That's your personal business. Keep it out of work." So I kept quiet. Until one night, I had just gotten home from my shift, showered, changed into a robe. The kind of night where you don't expect anything except bad TV and sleep. My bedroom window faced the street. It had a thin sheer curtain enough for privacy, or so I thought. As I walked past the window, something caught my eye. A figure, sitting perfectly still on a bicycle, under the streetlight. Nicholas, just watching. I froze. He didn't move, didn't wave. He just sat there staring straight into my bedroom. My heart dropped into my stomach. I snapped the curtain shut, locked the window, and turned off the lights. But I couldn't sleep that night. I didn't know how he knew where I lived. I had never told him. He'd never been invited. And yet, there he was. The next morning, I blocked him on every platform. He made new accounts, over and over again. That week, while walking my dog, I saw him again, standing at the end of my street, pretending to scroll on his phone. When I turned the corner, he looked up and smiled. 2 days later, I came home from work and found him at my front door. Not knocking, not pacing, just standing there. His voice was flat, cold. "I'm not leaving until you tell me why you're ignoring me." I tried to keep calm. "I've been offline lately, just taking a break from everything." He didn't blink. Then, out of nowhere, he said something I'll never forget. "I need to eat human flesh. It's the only way to rebuild muscle." He said it like he was reading a grocery list, like it was a fact. That's when I knew I was in real danger. I forced a smile. "My dad's on his way home. He has a gun. You should leave." That finally got to him. He backed off. Didn't say a word. I slammed the door, locked everything, then called the police. By the time they arrived, Nicholas was gone. They took my statement, told me to file for a restraining order. I did. But the next day, he came back. Police caught him biking toward my house again. This time they arrested him. They searched his apartment. What they found made my blood run cold. Dozens of printed photos of me, screenshots from my social media, zoomed in shots of my face from work, from around town. He had maps of my neighborhood, even satellite images, like he had been planning something. He told them I wasn't real, that he had been assigned to me. Nicholas was charged with stalking and trespassing. He was fired from the car wash. After that, more women came forward. He'd done the same to others, watching messaging following. I moved away, far away. But even now, when I turn off the lights at night, I sometimes look out the window, half expecting to see that bicycle, sitting, silent, waiting. Because fear doesn't always kick down your door. Sometimes it waits patiently under a yellow streetlight, just to see if you'll look back. If you've ever felt watched, followed, or unsafe in your own home, your instincts might be more real than you think. Trust them. And remember, stalkers don't always wear masks. Sometimes they wear uniforms, smile too long, and ride bicycles in the dark. Some fears don't have a clear shape. They don't scream. They don't chase. They don't bleed. They just stand there, silently, watching, waiting for you to slip, whether it's a neighbour with hollow eyes, or a stranger standing beneath the streetlight at midnight. They share one thing in common. They enter your life without being invited. And by the time you realise it, it's often too late to turn back. The stories you just heard aren't only about fear. They are warnings that not every smile is harmless. Not everyone who stays silent is empty inside. And not every glance is just a look. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and disaster is that vague, uneasy feeling you try to ignore. So, if you ever feel like you're being watched, If someone makes it hard to breathe just by walking into the room, listen to that feeling. Don't wait until the door is kicked in. Thank you for listening. And if tonight you hear a knock on your door, make sure it's just the wind. And if someone's still standing beneath the streetlight refusing to leave, don't look back. Don't open the door. And whatever you do, don't smile.